Tonight's Modern Men is powered by the Hero Initiative. Are you interested in becoming a hero? Go to theheroinitiative.org. See how you can be a hero to those comic creators in need. Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back again. It's Monday, episode 49. My God, we've done this 49 times now. What are we thinking?
Only 20 more to go.
It just seems like the beard has grown 49 more inches since the last time. So, Andy, how's the beard?
Better now it's here with you guys.
Drew, how you doing down there?
Oh, you know, it's been a good day, man. Had the day off, ready to talk some boys. It's been, I went and saw Tenet. We got time traveling bullets and shit. None of that in this book, but there is a whole lot of homoerotic situations in volume 2.
Yeah, I read a little bit further, but, for the boys, we had to bring on an expert on the boys. So we brought in Chad. What's going on, Chad?
Hanging, banging, trying to do my thing, You heard that I was slanging?
You've been slanging?
Homegirl went to school with, thought I was.
All right, I only understood half of that. So I'm going to go to the chat. So we got Ricky Markstadt. He is first in the chat. What is going on, Ricky? He says, hello, Markstadt69 is here.
Nice.
He always gets me with that every time. We got Just a Rican and his comics. What is going on, Rod the Rican?
What's up, Rod?
Bad news, Chris Barrett. He's in the chat tonight. We got ComicManAndy hanging out in the chat as well, and that lazy Stream Elements robot. I'm kind of over that.
Don't blame the robot that Chad doesn't remember the login.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do that, man. I'm so stoked to be hanging out with you guys right now. Of any show,
best show of the week. Best show.
I'm serious, man. This is awesome. I get to hang out with Andy. I never am on a show with Andy. I'm never on a show with. Well, I'm on a show with you guys sometimes.
I mean, if you could call that a show,
it's a show. I got surprises, man. I got surprises.
Chad brought surprises, gang. Buckle up.
You never know what to expect when Chad brings surprise. I don't even know what the surprises are, so stay tuned to find out.
Hey, Carson, can I tell you about the boys real quick? Something about my.
We're gonna be talking about the boys.
So, Andy's saga has meaning to him, right? Saga has there's a definite backstory to that book. Well, Ginny, she only has read 2 comics. She's not a comic person, and one of them is Y the Last Man, and the other one is The Boys, and I have that storage unit that I have all my trades and stuff in. So I needed to get a copy, and I actually had to use
look at that.
Jenny's autograph copy from Garth Ennis. So
you got him to sign that copy when I asked him all those questions about
Dog Walter. Remember?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that vividly. You're like, stop asking him about Dog Welder. And I was like, anyway, Dog Welder.
So I was pretty stoked about that.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome. I didn't know you had a sign. You know me, I love me some signatures, so that's pretty awesome, man. But yeah, let's just go ahead and dive into it. Let's talk about the boys. So I know, at least for me and Andy, this is our first time ringing the boys, and I'm sure Andy's watched some of the Amazon Prime series as well, which we'll save that for the second half of our discussion here. But Andy, what were your first impressions of the boys?
Well, they open you up with a pretty skull-smashing page right to begin with in true boys fashion. The Butcher is done much better in the book than he was the show. I liked him in the show. If you haven't watched The Boys on Amazon, make sure you read the book first and then watch the show. You'll enjoy it that much better. I think watching the show before reading the book did the book a huge disservice. In my opinion, for me. Yeah. I definitely should have read this book long before I watched the show. The book is way better, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree, Andy. For me, I think the first season had a few pacing issues, and the book definitely does not have those pacing issues at all. Like, it seems like they take a while to get the boys together on the series, where here, like, most of them are established except for Huey, which, you know, after the tragedy that happens to his girlfriend involving A-Train, that's when they decide that Huey's the perfect guy to recruit. So I thought it was pretty awesome just seeing them get all back together, and they didn't spend too much time like building them up and all that stuff. They're back together in like a few issues. So I definitely appreciated that. But Drew, what is your first take on the boys?
Let me preface this by saying that this book will have a very high score from me. I very much enjoyed this book. The show was better. The Frenchie is not set up at all in the book. Mother's Milk has really no character progression in the first couple issues whatsoever. The female is just kind of there and crazy already. I think that the way that they built the team in the show really helps the viewer and the audience member really get a handle on who these characters are and what they bring to the team as they build the team together. At this point, I don't know anything about any of those characters, just something about Butcher. And you know way too much about Wee Huey, who in the show is a point of view character, and in the book is hard to read Scottish accent using strange slang like jings. Like, he says things that even the chick from Scotland says. Nobody in Scotland says that. Like, what is the point of making this guy talk like he had a stroke? Like, it's just it's very hard to read. I just think they lay the accent on thick. And I think the character-wise, the show services all these characters much better than the book does. That being said, the book goes there where the show doesn't. And if you're watching that show and thinking to yourself, how in the hell does the book go farther? It just goes farther. It's in every way, shape, and form. It's a product of its time. It can never be made today. And the fact that they're making the show as closely tailored after this book as they are kind of amazes me in and of itself. But I prefer the show to the book. Not to say that I don't love the book, because I thought it was really great, and I'm going to keep reading it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the accents in our chat as well. And I got to be honest, the Scottish and the English accents didn't bother me too much from Butcher and Huey, but it was the Frenchman. After a while, I just kind of stopped reading his dialogue because I couldn't understand half of it. So I was just like, whatever, it's the Frenchman. I'll just keep going in it. But yeah, I get what you're saying on the characters in the book versus the show. But Chad, you're the expert on the boys. How did you come across this book to start off?
It was referred to me by some the comic book shop. I was in, because I'm always into like the Authority when they took on the Avengers or the Ultimate Avengers, and I just like Elseworld type stuff, but like I wanted something with gratuitous violence that actually read awesome. And plus, I mean, who isn't into bulldogs and guys shoving hamsters up their ass, right? So, I mean,
Chad, we know you are.
The book had it was written really well, and I was reading it when it was first at DC, when DC had it.
It was a Wildstorm first.
It was a Wildstorm book, yeah, and then it got canceled because of a couple of the covers that they had done, and this one story arc, and then Dynamite picked it up, and it took forever for it to end, but when it did end, it ended great, just like Why the Last Man. Disagree a little bit with Drew on that. I like the book more so because I've read the book as a full. I think the character development, I think the Seven is just better in the book, and they can't replicate that on a series. There's no way that, unless you're going to do an NC-17 version of it. But I'm looking forward to, on this season of The Boys, them introducing a couple new characters, because for the most part, you had oh my God, Lamplighter, they've mentioned recently in the past couple of episodes, and Jack from Jupiter, the Martian Manhunter guy. So he's going to be he's very, very important to the story, and Black Noir. I mean, from spoilers, and I want to tell you guys like everything about it, but the story reads as a whole, it reads great. They even did a bunch of little miniseries that they shoved into the story, and it's just a good book. From Revenge to like Huey had this plan the entire time to get, not Huey, Butcher had this plan the entire time for the moment Robin got her arms ripped off, to the last scene where, Butcher actually impels himself on a pole.
Thanks for the spoilers, Chad. I was going to read the rest of this.
That's going to take you 62 issues. You'll forget. You'll forget.
I think that when I say that I like the show better, I think that it just does a lot more. I've read 12 issues in a row, and I think the show does a lot more to set up the characters in fewer episodes than they got to in the issues that I read. That being said, my favorite part of the show is the Deep, and he gets no sort of love the way that he's explored in the show in the book, and that is sad to me. I want to watch dolphins try to get hand jobs.
Well, wouldn't you say that like they gave A-Train that aspect of that storyline though?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, he got the embarrassment part of it, but I mean that I like what they did with the Deep and with A-Train in the show, whereas A-Train gets his shine in this, but they're not really explored as much, especially in the first couple of issues. Just gonna say that. That being said, I like the fact that we get to explore so many more characters in the book.
Yeah.
Although a lot of them are, gay rape involved.
So,
a lot of gay rape in volume 2. Volume 2 is should pretty much be called the gay rape volume.
So volume 2, I can't remember them. I only had the volume 1. Was volume 2 the X-Men issue, or it had the Animal House cover?
I read it digitally. I don't remember all the covers. It is volume 2 is the Iron Man type dude who rapes his butler and like wants to rape his sidekick, so he sends his sidekick on a special mission so he can avoid raping him. And he just gets rapey on everything. And then like his therapist is trying to talk him out of it, and then his therapist leaves the room, and then he comes back and he raped his cup of coffee, and he's like, never come back, get out, never come back. He's like, do you have any burn cream?
Volume 3 is they take on Huey infiltrates the new X-Men, and like it's the X-Men, all the X-Men, X-Factor, take on the boys. And it is an absolute, well, there is a circle jerk in it. So,
well, that's what I really like about the book. The book does a better job pinning them against superheroes and the hand-to-hand brawls in the streets. That's a lot more fun than what we got to see in the show as far as confrontation between the groups. I enjoyed that a lot more in the book.
So, Andy, when you're reading, so now that you've read the book, do you see the little odes to the book on the show? Like in the last episode where...
Yeah. Some of the slight differences, like when... What's-her-face was joining the Seven, where the Deep confronted her. It was the entire team in the book that confronted her. Little bits here and there. Yeah.
How about when female, when she fights anybody, she cuts their face off completely?
Yes.
Yeah, she finally did that in the show.
Yeah.
It was really gruesome.
And I think I was on the fence about the casting for Homelander, but going back and reading this, it's pretty spot on.
Yeah, that guy's great. He's fantastic.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Like, and we've discussed this way back in the modern past. How when you're reading something, you have somebody's voice in your head or whatever. When I started reading this, and Homelander was kind of like almost more Superman type, I didn't really have a definitive voice in my head. But when he dropped his pants and started like going telling what's her name,
Starlight.
When she's like, yeah, suck it. That's when his voice
Suck
came
it.
to my head, the actor's voice from the Boys TV series.
Well, you can go back to that corn-fed team, whatever the name is, and whatever his name is, and she's just
Yeah.
it. And then how about her interaction with Maeve at that point?
Oh, and
Yeah, I
the
feel like that was pretty similar.
That's
to
pretty
what-
spot on the TV show.
Like
Mhm.
Maeve in the book is just constantly drinking. I think it's and having sex with random dudes. That's all
She's
she does.
smoking constantly as well.
Yeah, and so with it, but again, so them outing her on the show is like them outing Shout Out from the in the story.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And if you read, when you're reading the story, you hear Homelander always referencing, it can't be him, right? I thought this was done after the Mallory. It can't be him, right? It can't be him. They don't make mistakes. He knows that Butcher is doing this to draw them out. And there is so I do have a Holy Grail. And there is a cover, and I want to say it's the issue 2 that Jim Lee did of Butcher. That is so badass. He's just down in the sewer, and he's got this big smile on him in a crowbar, and you see Terror right behind him.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
So I mean,
Like they finally brought the dog in.
but then they didn't keep him.
I mean, the dogs are expensive for productions, Chad. You gotta feed them.
You gotta feed him.
You
I
gotta
have
feed
a
them.
question for Andy here, but I want to get to the chat first. We got Gore Vidal hanging out in the chat. He says he came across the boys after a fellow comic reader told me it was a martial law by Pat Mills from 2000 AD fame. Similar premise, but even darker in tone and satire than the boys. So yeah, once again, if this guy tells you to read something, you should probably.
Chad, you need to read martial law.
Yeah, there you go, Chad. Read that.
I'm trying to think of what else I was reading at this time. I think I was reading DMZ, Demilitarized Zone was at the time.
Oh, DMZ, Brian Wood, yeah.
And then there was another book, and I can't remember the name of it now, man. It was about the Twin Towers. One of them,
Ex Machina?
Yeah, that was a great book, too.
That's a good one. I'll have to visit that at some point.
But then if you remember, you take that, so in the show, when they're on that plane and it crashes, it takes out that bridge and everybody dies. That's they talk about that later because you can see the bridge.
Yeah, there's no bridge. Yeah.
So, sorry, I'm getting all. And the cool thing about this, and that you guys probably saw, you can't die. They don't die. They come back as fucking zombies. So
I thought that this book was better than I thought it was going to be after opening it and looking through the first few pages. I'm going to say it right now. What's his name? Darrick
Robertson?
Darrick Robertson. Has he drawn anything else?
Transmetropolitan.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm probably not going to want to read that because this is not a good looking book. His art is fair.
Well, the good thing is, Drew, he doesn't last after the third trade.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to read the rest of this, even though you spoiled it, Chad. But I'll be very happy when that artist is no longer drawing this book.
I think he leaves on Herogasm.
But Andy, I was going to ask you if you when you read this trade, or I don't know how you read it exactly. Did you read the production notes from Darrick Robertson about how he kind of started to model the Butcher after Frank Castle? I was wondering if you saw any similarities there.
I read it on Comixology, and I did not see that. Any sort of production notes or anything. I can go back and double check, but no, I missed that. It doesn't surprise me. I think that's why at first there's the introduction by Simon Pegg, but that's it on the.
Yeah, I think it's at the very end after issue 6. You
Okay.
get, the extra notes at the very end. But yeah, he talks about
There's an introduction by Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Was he cast as Huey before
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so that's also on the Comixology if you want to read that introduction by Simon Pegg. But I found some of the production notes really interesting because Darrick Robertson did have to do a lot of the concept art. Like Garth Ennis didn't give him like he didn't tell him like go draw this guy like Simon Pegg. Like he was just watching Spaced, and it finally hit him that the description that Garth Ennis gave him was pretty much like the close to this, what he envisioned as Simon Pegg. So they kind of just merged the ideas, and I guess they got permission, and Simon Pegg was like, yeah, that's awesome, do it. So then they did that. And it's kind of just interesting to hear the female origin, how she didn't start off as an Asian, but Darrick Robertson was like, why don't we, give her some ethnicity, give her a little bit more of an identity. And then that's when, their heads lit up and they decided to go from there. And I'm sure that'll be explored later down the line, but just very interesting, especially like in these volume 1 trades sometimes of like why the Last Man or Saga or, even the Boys, where it's just, we have these characters ingrained in our head now, but it wasn't always that way. So it's always fascinating to see how these characters were created. But yeah, he said on Butcher, he had to keep drawing him until he basically just didn't see Frank Castle anymore. So
I think he failed. He looks just like Frank Castle.
Yeah, I think
the entire way through this book.
There,
which is funny is because Ennis wrote like one of my favorite Punisher stories is when he ran over Wolverine with a steamroller.
And it's got that.
Yeah, there's way less gay sex in that one.
This has got that mid 2000s Punisher vibe kind of that I enjoy. I think I enjoyed the art a little bit more than Drew did, but yeah, I'd say it's fair. It's not mind-blowingly amazing, but it didn't make me want to cringe and throw it in the garbage by any means.
Well, one of the fun,
just fine for me. I mean, this isn't supposed to be one of those bright and sunny books. Of course, it's supposed to be dark and gray. They're all wearing those duster jackets because they think they look badass, and I think at least when they show the superheroes, they use a little bit more of that color. But I'm guessing it's just going to keep fading and getting darker and grittier as you go on.
I personally wish instead of seeing Hillary Clinton as the head of the CIA in the comic that they would have cast, they would have shown him having sex with the head of the CIA on the TV series. She's so much hotter.
Yeah, but he's like, he shows up and she's like, hold my calls, and then the next she's just getting railed. Like, I mean, how long has it been since Garth Ennis has gotten laid? There is a lot of fucking going on in this book, whether it be consensual or not. There's a whole lot of fucking going on.
Especially when you get to the equivalent of like the Titans or whatever they're called.
Yeah, they just run around doing coke, railing whores.
Yeah, what was that, issue 4?
Even wearing clothes at all. Like they're just having a nonstop orgy.
Yeah.
Team Kicks, or I can't remember what their name is, but
I think that was issue 4, and they were listening in
Young Kicks,
all the bugs in the house, and
the new Kicks or whatever.
But yeah, I just started laughing out loud when they got to that point.
It gets worse.
Chris Barrett says more non-consensual than consensual. It is Chad's favorite book.
It gets really
getting worse. So we haven't even addressed the hamster yet. Chad, you want to talk about the hamster?
The hamster plays a huge part in the story. The hamster and Huey make it all the way to the last issue because Huey takes it home as a pet, and when the guy's name was Cock, right?
Yeah,
Cock. So when he punches the cock, the hamster comes out, but it's taped up. So all it's doing, the only way it can move is by eating or like
burrowing, Richard Gere style.
God, was that horrible?
Yeah, but how can the scene get worse? And then a hamster crawls out of the guy's ass after he's been like impaled by a fist.
So the Compound V causes these people, gives them their powers, and the only side effect, according to the Butcher, is that they shit blue, right?
Yeah.
Well, the other side effect that nobody knows about is that they come back completely brain dead, fixated on one thing. So Lamplighter eventually comes back, and they just keep him in a room. It's a metal room, and he just keeps on shitting and putting shit all over himself. and Lamplighter, the cock comes back and freaks the shit out of Huey because he breaks down Huey's door, and all he wants is his fucking hamster.
Oh god!
Wow.
And I think one of the scenes, the last scene of one of the issues is the hamster with these real big eyes, just like, and the cock's hands coming at him, and like you can see the tear.
Blarney cock. Blarney cock.
Yeah, that's it, Blarney. They call him Barney at his funeral.
Barney the Blarney cock.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my god!
He's got like rooster feet too. I saw at one point in the.
Yeah, he's a chicken man.
We got Ruben Guzman in the chat. What's going on, Ruben? Chris Barrett says Maeve is very reminiscent of a John Constantine.
I don't believe that. I didn't hate her once. Because she smokes, and Chris Barrett's a Gen Z, so he thinks that anybody who smokes is the same as anybody else who smokes. He's a smoking racist.
Laura Vidal says Marvel Knights Punisher by Ennis is very different than his Punisher Max. The former is satirical and funny, including the art, while Punisher Max is like the show but grimmer. I do remember hearing about several of those differences between Knights and Max. I hear the Max is the one to read, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So,
I'm gonna read Punisher. You want to read the one with the 666 tattooed across his head? That was awesome.
Let's read Frankencastle and call it a day.
So any final thoughts on the boys? Andy, we'll start with you.
Oh man, final thoughts. It's hard to wrap up final thoughts because there's so much more to read on this. I definitely enjoyed the book way more than the show. The show came out, and I've watched the first 2 or 3 episodes and haven't bothered to really check back in on it.
Oh wow!
I'm more interested in sitting down and reading the rest of the book. Actually, my favorite portion of Volume 1 though was definitely when they're sitting on the park bench in the park and they're talking back and forth, and that yappy dog starts yapping, and Butcher just tells his dog just to take care of it. And that dog goes to town with the best smile on his face ever.
Even the dogs be raping.
What about you, Drew? What did you think of the boys?
I liked this book. I think I probably liked it more because every time something horrible happened, I started to giggle at how much I knew Chad was tickled by it more than anything else. Yeah, there's if you gotta have a strong stomach and a sense of humor about forced copulation, and if you don't read this book. But if you do, yeah, give it a shot. I thought it was pretty darn good.
Chad, would you recommend this book for anybody?
Not anybody. I mean, yeah. There's an age. There is a definite age limit on this book. It just gets more raunchy, more weird, and the characters that they start to introduce, the one that plays the guy from The Mandalorian and Better Call Saul, the head of Vought in the show.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know who you're talking about, the Breaking Bad guy.
When that ends up happening when he ends up showing up in the comic, you just fucking hate him. And can I share with you guys something? Can I share my screen to show you something?
Sure.
Okay. So
I don't know, Chad, can you?
Yeah, I'm trying. So here's Here's how Huey. I mean, Butcher finds out about Huey and Starlight. Right, Starlight.
Starlight, yeah.
And he comes to pick him up, knocks on the door, says a couple things, and then this look on his face, right? And then he just starts laughing.
Oh God.
Such a good story.
The dog. He's so happy.
The dog is thrilled.
Wow.
But it's. I told you the hamster plays a big part. There he is. He sticks around for a while.
Just a sampling of things to come, I guess. Especially when they're going through like the comic book shop and they're talking about like how evil the people are on the comics, and
well, that's another thing. There's a guy that like writes the comic books, and he's like a hybrid of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the big informant for the CIA,
Right.
because Vought is feeding him all the storylines, and they don't tell him the storylines. They just say, "Hey, make this canon. This is what happened. Don't tell him about how many people we fucked up, but make it look like we're heroes." So that's what he does, and it continues, and the story continues, and like every year, you know how every summer we have the big mega event, right? Where all the superheroes come together and they fight one common goal. It's the big crossover in comics. Well, that happens in The Boys. But what that is, in The Boys, it's a retreat to go have sex with all the other superheroes. So they call it Herogasm. So you literally see Mr. Fantastic running a train on the Invisible Woman. Well, you don't see the Invisible Woman. She's just there, and it's a bunch of shit happening. And Black Noir is super weird. I mean, he just keeps on. He's just super weird and doesn't talk and just shows up. And then it gets really weird when they finally reveal who he is. And then, it's pretty good. It's awesome. 10. Get it a 10.
Chad's giving it a 10. There you go. Jim Mint, 10 right there from Chad. Drew, what's your score on this?
That's a 9.2. Plenty of room for improvement in the pacing of the story, the clearness of the dialogue, and also the art could use a major upgrade. All the bones of this thing, though, are very solid, and I like where it's going. I like where it's been, even if it's been a little rapey along the way.
What about you, Andy?
I'm going 9.4. I agree with Drew on some of the dialogue aspects. They were a little tough. I mean, even you, Carson, said the Frenchman, you just at some point just stopped kind of reading it and just passed through that and noticed him in the panels and the pages. So I'm at a 9.4.
I think for me, I'm going to give this a solid 9 out of 10. I'm just going for that 9.0 score. A lot of room for growth here. Is this book for everybody? Absolutely not. Don't show this to everybody. They'll be angry. They won't understand, but other people love it. They'll appreciate it. I have no idea how this was picked up for a TV show, let alone a TV show as successful as the one that's on now. It's still mind-blowing to me that some network executive over at Amazon Prime was like, I wonder if I could make this work as an MA-rated TV show. But, yeah, somehow that's happened. You want to say something, Chad? You look like you got something to say.
No, it's just my eyebrows are being held up by my hat.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll fix that.
That was our review of The Boys.
Oh, man.
That was a
Clips
good-
tonight.
So we're going to move on to our next topic. But first, let's go ahead and get into the chat here. We got Gore Vidal. Like I said, if this guy tells you to read something, you better go find it. He says, Martial Law came out in 1987. It was published by Marvel Epic, which I don't think was pleased with how Mills savagely satirized the characters. It was a mini-series. Andy, you want to try pronouncing this one?
Animali.
Animali. All right, that sounds great. Animali says, hey, everyone, The Boys is totally WTF goodness from beginning to end. Thank you for stopping by. Definitely appreciate the comment. But, yeah, we're going to transition into our next topic. DC lately And Drew, I know you love talking about DC. We're going to talk about how they are transitioning into this digital first style format. Just last week, they pretty much put the kibosh on DC Universe. And now DC Universe is going, I don't remember what the goofy term for it is, like DC Universe Infinite, which basically means we're going to be Marvel Unlimited, and we're getting rid of all of our TV shows because that whole division got bought up by HBO Max. So we're taking it off all of your favorite devices like Roku, Xbox One, so on and so forth. And we're basically going to be a hopefully just as good version of Marvel Unlimited for DC. But another interesting thing that came out is they seem to be releasing a lot of their future content, quote unquote, digital first. So in my opinion, this is just the writings on the wall. They may as well just say they're phasing out a lot of their print comics. So I want to get your guys' opinion on if this is the future of the comic book industry. Is DC gone mad? Is it somewhere in the middle? Drew, I know you're just craving at the bit. I'll start with you, man.
Look, this is not the end of the comic book industry. The print industry for comic books is strong right now. It is good for all the publishers, except for DC, who wants to spit in the face of an industry that put them where they are. If they feel Warner Media at this point that they don't need the comic books in order to succeed, more power to them. I think that what they're going to find is that a lot of their IP that is very fruitful will never be explored. We're not going to get a Swamp Thing movie. We're not going to get a Booster Gold movie. We're not going to get a Justice League Dark movie. It's going to be Batman, and Batman with a little bit of Superman and Wonder Woman sprinkled in. It's not about Batman. It's probably about Harley Quinn or the Joker, because that's all they're doing with their publishing arms that are being successful right now. Black Label is basically the Joker label, with a few Harley Quinn and Batman books thrown in. Oh, we got a question book. Sure. Oh, we got one Wonder Woman. Sure. We got a Superman book that was absolutely terrible. Yeah, we got that. We're not going to be exploring these other characters, these tertiary characters anymore. I think that you're going to see a whole lot less being explored in every avenue. I think right now, one of the best things that Warner Media has going for them in the DC realm is the Harley Quinn TV show. Because it has so many characters in it. It explores different areas of the universe. It might take a pot shots and a satirical look at the DC universe, but it honors the DC universe in a way that, like Teen Titans Go honors the DC universe. I think you're going to see less and less of that. I think you'll see more. Oh, this is this version of Batman. That is that version of Batman. How many Batmans do we have under contract to play Batman right now? Like, oh, there's only 45 guys cast as fucking Batman at the same goddamn time. Meanwhile, we can't get a good Superman movie to save our lives. I think that they're not focused on the arm of their corporation that can drive these IPs, that can create new stars and new characters. You're not seeing them take the chances on off-the-wall characters like Guardians of the Galaxy, like Marvel has done, or introducing new characters that are super successful in the way that Marvel's done with like Kamala Khan in the new Avengers game, and all the different media where she's taken over, Miles Morales, and how big he's become. You're not seeing these characters being explored in that way, and I think that this is probably the last time with death metal, that we're going to see one giant big DC universe with everyone involved.
All right, what about you, Andy? What do you think of this digital first initiative?
I don't know. I don't really have a dog in this race, so to speak. I mean, I don't read a lot of DC. I'm just becoming more of a regular DC reader, thanks to you guys and a lot of other people in this community. If I don't see a DC book on the shelf at my LCS on a Wednesday, I'm not going to buy it. That means if they're going to go to digital only on titles, I'm not going to read them. I'm not going to read them unless we read them on here. It's another layer. It's another hoop to jump through to keep up with things. If I'm interested in something and I see it on the shelf at the LCS, I'm going to read it. The death metal stuff, I've been picking that up. I've been picking up the Tinian Batman run because I want to sit down and I want to read all that because you guys really have me genuinely interested in this. But to then add another app with another set of fees, it's another group of hoops to jump through to try to figure out how to get this delivered to me to read it. I'm not interested at all, really. If they keep printing books and they keep printing things that I'm interested in, I'm definitely going to keep reading some of that DC stuff. But Drew, like Drew said, they're just not taking enough chances. They took that chance with Naomi, and people were genuinely excited for it, and they didn't capitalize on it, and look where it fell.
I don't know if people were genuinely excited for it. I think they capped the print run, so people were genuinely excited to make a $4 book into a $24 book, into a $50 book for no reason, into whatever the hell it's going for now. I didn't know anybody who's excited for the story of Naomi.
Whether you're excited for the story or you're excited for the cover or you're excited for the speculation of it, DC created that excitement with a character other than Superman, Batman, without that trio or whatever. So they need to take more chances on that stuff, and I don't think Warner's going to do it.
No, I agree, 110%.
So if they continue to trim off print runs, the print style books, which I don't think they will, I think they'll still have stuff. It's just if they're going to, that's a scary thing to think about though too, because if they're going to try some stuff and they're going to actually reach out there and extend themselves, they're probably going to do it digitally first and not print it. So I might miss out on some cool stuff, but I don't need another app. I don't need another hoop to jump through to keep up with something that I'm just waning on, so to speak. Comic books are definitely wearing me out. I mean, this is Mondays suck bad enough as it is. You guys really bring my Mondays right back up, thankfully. But I mean, I had 2 packages today, comic book related, that I didn't even get the right products in. It's like I almost don't even want to pick up my books this Wednesday. Just sit down and read the Read Crisis for next week. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Reading that, but comic books are waning on me and wearing me thin with everything that's been going on lately. It's too much, too fast, and not a lot of customer service, and I feel like that's an issue as well.
Well, Chad, before I go, you want to give your 2 cents on all of this?
Yeah, I do. Drew and I talked about this, I think, a little bit last night, and there was some news yesterday that Cavill signed a new contract with DC, right, with Warner Brothers. So I thought it was pretty funny because it's a 6-picture deal, right? And his agent is the same as The Rock's agent. His Rock's ex-wife is The Rock's and Henry Cavill's agent. So I think AT&T got involved. They bought the product, and they saw what Disney was doing with the MCU. Now, the only way that things are going to get better in DC entertainment side is if they did. I mean, what was his name? Was it Avi Arad? The guy
Arad? Yeah.
Yeah. So if somebody like Avi and Kevin Feige came in, I think they are resting a lot of their hopes and dreams on a lot of this production on Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns is a comic book writer, right? Good, but not great. They need a Kevin Feige or a Avi Arad to step up to the plate, But what Kevin Feige did is he took the storylines that were popular and he made them into great stories. He got the right people involved, and I think that's what DC is going to. As far as the digital copy, this is where Andy and you and I are going to differ a lot on. I went down to the storage unit to pick up some of my Halloween stuff, right? And there are a ton of long boxes in there. And I'm sitting there getting so pissed because I have to move these goddamn boxes around. And I'm like, I'm spending a certain amount of money for a storage unit so I can have comic books that, what am I doing? They just sit down in a storage unit and I don't read them. If I can have them all in one spot as a reader, that's a win for me. And if I have a couple books here and there, so I like the digital side. I mean, I know Legend likes it. I just think from where I'm at in my life, I don't have the space to have. I want other things. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but here's the thing, Chad. I spent $5 on this. Okay.
Yeah.
Not only did I spend $5 on it so I can take it out and read it, I spent $5 on it because it's a beautiful cover. I have it in my hands. And if I can turn around tomorrow and sell it for $5, I break even. If it peaks at $10, I have a 100% return on my investment. If I sell it for $1, I still have sold it for something and gotten something back for it after I've gotten through with my use for it. If I have something digital, right, the second I stop paying for that platform, it goes away. I don't have it anymore. I can't read it again. If they decide they're going to cancel it, then they're going to take it off that platform. That's one thing. Also, they're going to ask me to pay $5 for something that I can't have in my hand and resell when I can press 3 buttons on this keyboard right now and read it for free. What in the hell do they think they're going to be doing? Like, here's the thing. The problem with digital comics is this. The old school people, we all want to read our paper comics. People want to read their trades. It looks better on the paper. It's a tactile experience. You have a lot of people who won't switch over. There are plenty of people who will switch over, but you also have your natural digital readers who naturally read things digitally via Kindle, via tablet, whether they read their books digitally, whether they read their textbooks digitally in school. These are the things like that kids these days are doing. And guess what? Kids these days also will not pay for something they don't have to fucking pay for. There's a free version of everything. Fortnite is free. Call of Duty is free. Guess what else is free? Digital comic books, because you could pirate them very, very easily. It's just PDFs on the internet. The second they're released in stores, they come out online. It's not a sustainable business model to charge $5 per digital comic or to charge, more than,
Drew, how many times do you go into the store that you end up buying? Like, there's been times where I bought 3 books and it's $30, and I'm sitting there going, "What the shit is this?"
I never just buy 3 books, Chad. I'm
no.
I'm an addict.
You're an addict, but if you buy 3 books, there's a chance of them all being $9.99 or $10.99. It's
true.
The pricing,
like the new Detective Comics 1027 came out, and it's $10 an issue, and all of it is the leftovers from Detective Comics 1000 that they didn't have room for. It's like when Marvel did that Marvel Comics 1000, and then like 2 weeks later they released 1001. It was just like another big ass book full of the same stories that just didn't fit. Yeah, it's leftovers. We know it's leftovers. Do they have brand names on them? Sure, but they're still fucking leftovers. I think that DC's at the point where they release a $10 anniversary issue every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks this year, there's been a $10 anniversary issue. Joker issue, Lex Luthor issue, a Flash issue, a Wonder Woman issue, Detective Comics 1000, Action Comics 1000, Superman 40,022, and then Robin anniversary issue, and then the Catwoman anniversary issue, and the Joker anniversary issue. And I can't wait for the Riddler anniversary issue. It's just going to be him asking stupid questions for 144 pages. It's going to cost me $10 goddamn dollars, and most of it's going to be garbage.
Hey, Carson, can we address Chris Barrett's question and let Drew go after it?
Let's see let's see what you're referring to here. Okay.
Actually, no, Avi Arad was not part of the problem with the early 2000s Marvel. He is the executive who saved that company via toys and marketing and piecemealing out their IP to different movie studios in order to make them a billion-dollar company again. Like they were in the shit house, and Avi Arad came in and saved their asses. You don't get the X-Men cartoon without Avi Arad. You don't get the Spider-Man cartoon without Avi Arad. You don't get any of the greatness that is like the Spider-Man movies in the 2000s from Avi Arad. Come on, man.
Hey, quick question, Drew. What was the most successful Spider-Man movie in the past 10 years?
The most successful Spider-Man movie in the past 10 years?
Or we'll say 5 years.
5 years, it's Far From Home.
So how about Into the Spider-Verse?
Into the Spider-Verse was the least successful.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was just asking.
There's a pressing question in the chat, Drew. It says, "Didn't you buy the digital version of Tony Hawk? You can't sell that." That's from our friend, the Great Legend Show, who's in the chat. What's going on, Legend? How you doing? Let's get John's Comics with Kids in there talking about Drew.
Hey, Legend. No, bro, I didn't.
Oh, look at that.
Carson.
All right.
There's a convenience with digital comics. There genuinely is. But there
is. They're free. When you don't want to pay for them, you can just look at them for free.
They still can't deliver a comic book from day one well enough that the digital version doesn't do it some sort of disjustice. The Boys book didn't even read that well on Comixology, to be honest with you. It reads better in paper by far.
Yeah,
there is a convenience to digital comics because I can type in 3 words on my keyboard and find any comic for free right now. For free. And it's not like these pirating sites are hard to come by. What do you think they would be named? Because guess what? That's what they're named. Type in that and then .com and you're there. Like, type in, what's the latest Batman issue that came out? Batman 98. Type in read Batman 98 online for free.com and you can do it.
Those teeth.
I am triggered by paying for things that are free. Like I'm genuinely triggered by that.
So Carson, you give your point, and then can I say something?
I'll let you go first, Chad.
No, I got gimmicks. I mean, not gimmicks.
I should go then. All right, now okay, I can go finally. By the way, shout out to Masked Marvel. Didn't get a chance to shout him out earlier. How you doing, Masked Marvel? He likes those free digital comics as well. So for me on this whole topic, obviously there's 2 sides each coin. There's pros and cons on this. I think we all agree on that after talking about it for a little bit. The pros, obviously, it's going to be great to access. Like, I think this is going to be easier to reach your non-core readers. I think we legitimately underestimate the power of just casual readership. That's the way most standard books have gone after. Obviously, there's always going to be those people clamoring for physical media, whether it be video games, books, comics, so on and so forth. Either way, I think at the end of the day, this is going to be an easier outreach to get comics in one form or another in the hands of casual readers. Just like DC's been experimenting and still putting comics into Walmarts and original content in there, even though none of us. Did
you go get your Venom 25 variants?
I actually got 2 copies. One for giveaway and one for myself. So I did find them. They were there still.
They are not hard to find.
They are not
paying more than cover price for them. You are
$98 for those. Do not pay $20.
It's all going for $10 on Instagram.
Yeah.
People are like, claim. Like, you were an idiot. Go to your local Walmart. It'll cost you $9 for that and like 3 other books.
Like I said, negatively though, obviously, I hate to see any impact to my local comic shop or any other local comic shops. I think we all love the brick and mortars, and this at the end of the day will hurt them quite a bit if they don't have DC exclusivity. It's going to continue to see them suffer further, and that's what 40% of what they sell most likely, typically in your worst case scenario. So that sucks. Obviously, any impact to them will continue to suck. So hopefully, they can find that middle point to keep the casual readers comics in hand, as well as to satiate our need for those fun variant covers or the 10,000th issue of Ambush Bug or whatever the hell they're going to print next. But yeah, I definitely think I look forward to see what they do with DC Universe Infinite. Great Legend was talking about in the chat earlier how he's going to start reading that stuff 6 months out. I'm probably going to try to do the same thing. Basically, I'm just going to start dropping those type of titles, and I'll probably start reading some stuff just 6 months out, because by the time I want to read it, usually 6 months has passed anyway. Just like the Marvel stuff, I was kind of thinking about it. I don't really pick up any Marvel anymore unless it's like a variant cover I like. Otherwise, I usually I read most of the X-Men stuff on Unlimited, or if I heard it was really good, then I would pursue the trade or hardcover for the collection from there. So yeah, it just depends. But I think that the biggest weakness for DC right now isn't the fact that they're transitioning to all these new mediums. They're experimenting a lot before there's a lot of successful numbers coming up. It's the fact that their stories just aren't worth seeking out whether it be physical or digital. They need stronger writing on their stories at the end of the day. I do appreciate kind of what they're doing on Batman, even though I feel like the Tynan stuff could have been condensed down quite a bit, what I've read so far.
I think they expanded his initial run.
I could see that would
they extended it because they don't know what's going to happen until they're done with Death Metal. So I think they kind of it was supposed to end at 100, and it's going past that.
So that would make some sense,
right? I think that that's kind of dragging its feet a little bit. But that's really the only big like drawback I have for that Batman story. I mean, it is same old shit with Joker taking over the city and everybody's at their wits' end.
Well, yeah, what I was going to say is, like, I think that new format for the Universe app, if they do go to the Word and they're putting stuff 6 months out, I think that'll be the perfect medium to finally start exploring the Black Label stuff, because the strongest writers and artists that they have under the DC imprint right now all drift toward Black Label for whatever reason. I don't know if they get more money per sell because the books cost more or so on and so forth, but your Palmiani and Cotter teams, Brian Azzarello, all those guys, they're drifting toward that Black Label, and I want to read that stuff, but I really don't want to pay $8 for one issue of comic book. That's never going to happen. Like, I would rather just read it digitally, and in that case, if it's much cheaper to read digitally, heck yeah, I'm just going to read that digitally, and maybe if I see it one day and if it even fits in the dollar bin somehow because they're wider prints, I might pick them up that way if I like them then. So I think, if they can get the storytelling right and kind of not dilute their characters, that's their other major problem, especially with Harley and Batman, and just kind of streamline what they want to do with their main continuity, then maybe they have a shot at future success. But until they figure out what they can do with the writing standpoint and not overutilizing those characters, I think, they're in a little bit of trouble. So hopefully they can start to get some good stories out there and then back those up with some good content.
Just 2 quick points before we kind of move on from this. I think that, or if we want to discuss it even further, that's fine. I think that the first thing that they need to do if they're going to go digital first is they need to find a way to reasonably price digital comics.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to get it in the hands of twice as many people at half the price, because you're just not getting as much out of it as you are a physical issue.
How about
what's that?
Hoopla.
It doesn't really matter how people are getting their hands on these digital comics, right? Because you can read some on library apps, you can read them on Comixology, but at the same time, when a new book drops on Comixology, it's the same cost as it is to go to the store and pick up a physical copy.
Right.
That may accrue value, that may not, but like with the collector's market, the concept of being able to resell your comics is like, there's definitely a collector's market that's as big a part of it as the reader's market. I think that they're looking for new readers and they're turning their back on collectors when collectors are what has kept them afloat for as long as they've been afloat. Again, I think that you're right about the best artists and writers being on Black Label books. They're all given a fantastic amount of creativity, some freedom to really explore the characters that they choose to explore. The problem is they're all being allowed to explore the same characters. And I think that like when Jeff Lemire comes in and does The Question, like it wasn't a book for me, but I enjoy Jeff Lemire and I know a lot of people enjoy The Question. That's something different, right? Or you got like Stepan Sijic does the Harley Quinn book, which looked really, really great, right? And it was pretty good for a Harley Quinn book, but they know Harley's going to sell. They need an editorial voice on that Black Label, kind of like a Karen Berger, to curate, which characters they can elevate through the Black Label. And it shouldn't, like, when somebody comes in, it's like, hey, we want to offer you the opportunity to write a Black Label book. Oh, great. I got a great take on Batman. No, fucking stow that. We have got 80 takes on Batman right now. Let's talk about, Super Guardian. Let's talk about Beast Boy. Let's talk about another character that we can explore. I mean, Tom King made Mr. Miracle relevant again in a way that nobody was probably expecting. Why can't they take the next great artist and the next great writer and put them on a title that elevates the next great character. I think that would be a way for them to expand their readership into different avenues as well. And it is what it is. And I think that we're going to, it's the Batman company right now. Batman's worst villain right now is Batman. So
and
hopefully we get something other than Batman.
To your point, to the value of things as well, digital comics will never hold any value until you actually put like some sort of a limit on how many times people can purchase that, which they'll never do, because you got half the cost to produce a digital comic, so it saves them a ton of money, and you could potentially sell that same title 1 million times over.
But here's my problem with that statement, though, man. You got to find the market, right? Like, I'm going to give a prime example, and he's in this chat and he knows it. But Legends auctions before everybody else started doing auctions, Legends auctions, you got comics at a good price. It was for the community.
Physical copies, right?
Yeah. You got
digital. I'm talking digital though.
No, I'm talking like you have to find the market though, Andy. Like for hard copies, there's a niche market, right? It's a small group, and the community itself, you have like this comic book community. I'm just giving you like parallels of what it used to be. When it used to be, Legends auction was on the every other Saturday, right?
Friday or Saturday. It was Saturday.
You would go on there and you get your Hulk 181 and you'd get all these big boy books at a very
reasonable prices. People were selling modern keys to make sure that you were, the whole thought process was that like not everybody on YouTube thought they were going to get rich from auctions. Everybody on YouTube thought that they were going to take their extra books that they didn't need, flip it back out to the community, give somebody a good deal because you're going to get a better deal for selling it to somebody in the community than you are on eBay with all the fees, or that you are taking it to your local shop and trading in for store credit. Like it was about building the community and making sure that people got good deals.
But
I see where you're at on that,
Chad.
Chad.
Have a basis for that price because that book has a physical limited number of copies. When you have an unlimited number of digital copies, they'll never hold a value.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, right, and also when you can press 3 freaking buttons and get it for free, it won't ever hold any value. And I think that Gomer's in the chat. Gomer said it's not going to sell without a name like Kingo, and I think he's responding to what I said about Kingo and Mr. Miracle. Nobody knew who the fuck Tom King was when he reinvented Vision, and he did a great job with it, and that's what got him his Batman job. It was nothing more than the way that he wrote those characters, and I think that gave him carte blanche to go to DC and work on Mr. Miracle and now work on Strange Adventures. But Tom King's name when Mr. Miracle first started coming out wasn't as big as you really think it is. Like, I think that if you take a guy like Lemire, I think he's going to sell just as many, if not more copies than Tom King would. I think that if you take like you throw some money at Brian K. Vaughan to come in and tell, a Starfire story or whatever the hell it's going to be, you're at that point, you can take these big names and use them to sell, but you can also take like underutilized talent right now who are writing good books and give them the opportunity to sell these books, give them the opportunity to succeed on them.
But I think there's a flaw there, Drew.
What's that?
Those big names now, they want to be creative like everybody does. They want to do something on their own. And they're seeing that they can go to Kickstarter or crowdfunded program and get the book made and make more money than when they were getting paid at Marvel or DC. 100%.
Sure. But you also have to, it's not every creative's dream to be a comic book writer, right? No. It's every creative's dream to get paid for being creative. And a lot of writers who are into just writing stories end up in comics because it is their way into writing for a living. It's their way to get consistent work for being creative. And until they can reach their goal and do their own thing. But I would also say that there are a lot of creators out there who, if you say to them, here's your opportunity to write this classic character, they're going to be chomping at the bit to get the opportunity. And maybe they all want to write Batman. And that's the problem, is they all get there and they're like, oh, I've been thinking about this Joker story forever. And DC is just appeasing them and giving them the opportunity so that they can use that name power to sell these books. But at the same time, I think that you get a creative team with a creative idea, you can elevate a whole new character and make it your own. Like DC should be selling the idea of Tom King's Mr. Miracle to every writer out there. Say, like, who thinks of Vision or Mr. Miracle right now without thinking of Tom King? And who thinks of Batman and then thinks Tom King? Really nobody. Like, Batman has had so many different takes and so many different great writers on him. Like, Tom King's run doesn't really stand out amongst them, but his runs on Vision and Mr. Miracle are not only critically acclaimed, they are fan darlings as well. People love those books. They love the takes on those characters, and he's getting a lot of good press for his Adam Strange take in Strange Adventures right now. If you take a writer and say to them, look, I know that you've got a great idea for Batman, but if you take that great idea and you morph it into a great idea for Nightwing, and we do a Nightwing Black Label book, that will sell, and you'll be the Nightwing guy, you know? Or, you know, let's take a look at, I mean, Cami Garcia is doing a great job exploring the Teen Titans and those young adult novels that she's writing. And those are selling pretty well from all accounts, everything that I've read about them. And she's taking the opportunity to explore these characters that aren't getting shine in these Black Label. Like, why isn't there a Black Label Teen Titans book? We could do a lot of really, really important new Teen Titans stories with a more adult twist to them. You know, we could be getting more out of these characters than we're currently getting. And I think that John's Comics Kid says Greg Rucka's Zatanna would be fun. Greg Rucka's Lois Lane was fun. I actually went back and reread that digitally because of as many great things as you were saying about it, John. And that right there is an example of a character who has not had the opportunity to be showcased in 4 million books a month, getting a chance to shine and getting some really due credit for being an interesting character with an interesting take and Rucka's point of view. And that was really fun.
I mean, there's a guy right there, Greg Rucka. He has, you know, he's going into Hollywood. I mean, that's his direction of what he wants to do is write movies, and obviously he can get paid for it. But I don't know. I'm just, you know, everybody's goal. Bendis said it once on a Zoom call that he had on Hero Initiative, and he said that his goal to go to DC was to follow Frank Miller, and his ultimate goal, his crowning achievement, is to write Batman. So, you know, he's ending Action Comic here in December. He's taking over Batman, and that's his goal. And then he wants to keep on working on writing. And
he mentioned ruining Superman along the way.
Yeah. But hey, Carson. Oh, sorry.
You gonna stab me?
So, can I do my shtick now? My gimmick. Yeah,
go ahead.
I don't want to be on the big screen.
No, put him on the big screen.
No.
Gimmicks on the big screen, Chad.
It's not a gimmick. It's a
conversation.
Andy, this
yes,
is fine.
Do that.
There we go. That's fine.
So Andy said to me, he's like, you know, like everybody knows I don't send shit.
The scorecard.
So I am willing to send stuff right now because I saw that big thing down there, and I got to get rid of all those comics. So I've got Chris Barrett's books here that I'm going to put in this box and send to him tomorrow. And then by Friday, he can come and report that he got his books. So I don't know what books they were, so I went out and bought as many Star Wars trades for you, Chris Barrett, as I could find.
That Poe Dameron run's pretty fun. I hope
So-
you enjoy it, Chris Barrett.
It's in the box.
It's better than the movies.
Superman and Batman. It's in the box. And that's all going out tomorrow. And then do you want to give us away, guys?
Ooh, long Halloween. Yeah, can we give it away to me?
This
It's
is
a
good
hardback.
timing. Halloween's just around the corner.
Yeah,
That's great.
What do you, Carson? Think of a good question.
Hey, I got an idea. Carson, we're going to put up a poll later, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Already
If
up.
you got, it's
'Cause
already
they-
up.
Dude, if we waste time, I'm not gonna. I gotta. Because I'm going to work tomorrow. I can have my
You're
secretary.
going to send it out tomorrow.
Yeah.
You want to
Okay,
do the
we got
wheel of
13
name?
people watching. If anybody can guess the number between 1 and 36
How
that I
about
have in my head right now, you win this book.
How about if they can tell us what the original show's name was for the Friday show?
Ah, okay.
The original.
It's 32.
The original. Think about that and why the significance, Carson.
Yeah. Let's go with that. Yeah. What's the original name for the Friday show before we made the channel Comic Core? Well, it was Comic Core before it was the Comic Core. First person to put it in the chat, Chad's going to
Yeah, John, we're not doing my number.
mail
gimmick.
you this hardcover, I think.
You have to know this very obscure trivia fact.
And here's the hint.
Andy, do you know the answer?
All you gotta there's a way to cheat at this. I'm just not gonna. I'm not
It's
gonna
not
say
called
anything.
cheating. It's called research.
Here's the hint. It has a significance with the boys.
Oh boy! Everybody in the chat, this is easy. Figure it out. You could win this book. It's like a $50 book.
It is. It's $49.99.
Long Halloween is an epic read that I hope we can read on Modern Minx. I have not read it yet, and the reason why I have not read it yet is because I want to read it with you guys.
Chris Barrett says he's removing himself from this giveaway. It's because he doesn't know the answer.
Might have to go back to that number. No one's guessing, Chad.
Look, it is a number. And Legend put it right there.
It's actually the same answer.
Oh, God. No, we're going way back on that. I thought you were talking about just the channel name.
Did you just figure that one out?
Yeah. Legends trying. Then wants
Oh
to
boy!
get the clues.
And I even have a box. If I don't do this, I'm not sending it because I'm lazy.
Elway. Oh my God.
He's
It was not
Somebody-
Elway.
Yes, there's 13
No, think
people
about it.
watching live.
It's a
Man, someone's going to be very lucky when they win this. If only they had like a nice lucky number to go along with the luck that they have that they could get this book.
Hey, Andy, what's the name of the superhero team on the boys?
Oh my God, we got it.
John.
There we go. John got it finally.
7.
John, I'm sending it.
Unite the 7. I will
Untitled
look, John. I'll send you something super special if you can tell me who the most volatile member of the original 7 was.
He didn't even make the first show.
Oh man, well that was fun. Thanks for that, Chad. Hopefully you guys see these books for posterity's sake. John's Comics with Kids is getting the Batman Long Halloween black and white, whatever the gimmick's called cover. DC has a name for it. I can't remember.
Noir.
Chris
Noir.
Barrett is getting these wonderful gifts from Chad, Star Wars trades. So Chris, definitely let us know on Friday if you receive those books. I'm going to be very
Legend.
hold Chad accountable here. So let us know how many people in the chat. All right. So next week we have some exciting fun times planned here because we're going to be reviewing Crisis on Infinite Earths. So
Yeah, we will.
we're going into what is probably still to this day the biggest thing DC's ever done from the story point level, and that's Crisis on Infinite Earths, my personal favorite book of all time. I cannot wait to review that. Andy, you think you're gonna make it to issue 12?
I started reading this week, and I made it probably. It's not a fast read. It is not a fast read. I'll say that. I'm about
It's got
30.
a lot of word density.
30, 35, 40 pages. You want to know what I'm struggling with the book so far?
What's that?
Is just
Extremely dated George Perez art.
No, the extremely dated, not lyrics, the extremely
Costume
dated
design.
No, the extremely dated words they use.
Yes, the vernacular is definitely dated as well.
Yes, the vernacular is extremely dated, and I'm like, I've had to look a few of them. I've actually had to stop what I'm doing and look a few words up to find out what they're talking about. Similar to the boys even today, but that's like a foreign dialect kind of thing. This is just the vernacular is like truck stop or not a car hop, like a car hop with roller skates and 19. When was the book made?
1985.
Oh, it reads much older than that.
It certainly does.
Well, content like this, tune in next week. It's gonna.
I've got plenty of positive things to say. I just was agreeing with Andy on that one.
But Drew had an interesting idea for the Week 51 poll. We're gonna follow it up with more DC Crisis action. So right now, there is a poll up on the Comic Core YouTube community tab, and you have 5 reads to choose from. I know, Chad, you love this first one. This is another one of Chris Barrett's favorites, probably, too, for him to fall asleep to, that is. Identity Crisis by Brad Meltzer is the first one on the list. Chad, do you remember the time we actually reviewed that, me and you?
Yeah. Is that Turtle singles issues you got there?
No, these are these mystery things that Carson made.
That's a lot of Turtle singles issues
I
there.
made him buy it when,
He didn't make me buy it. He suggested.
Next up, we have Infinite Crisis by Jeff Johns, one of my all-time favorite reads right there. So basically the sequel, the direct sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths is Infinite Crisis by Jeff Johns. Next up, Final Crisis by Grant Morrison. I kind of personally hope that one stays at 0%, but we'll see. Flashpoint by Jeff Johns once again. And Doomsday Clock by Jeff Johns Triple Threat next week. Drew, what do you think about the Jeff Johns Triple Threat?
I think it's going to be very hard for me to avoid Jeff Johns' hackery.
Oh, God.
Andy, what do you think about all this?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it, but there's still a couple of wild cards that haven't been played yet. So we'll see what happens.
It's true. We might say, fuck your poll and throw a wild card.
What if the fans vote? We still have to read it eventually.
Oh, yeah, eventually.
I didn't say we're just going to negate.
Yeah, my horse.
Oh,
you know what?
It'll
get put off. It'll get put off till week 52 is what will happen.
Can you throw Identity Disc in there?
No.
That's a Marvel book.
It is. Therefore, it's not going in.
Look, we're going to do good events on the next event vote where we talk about Marvel events.
That was your idea anyway. Where can people find you, Drew?
They can find me here on the Comic Core Monday nights, trolling Carson.
Yeah. Yep.
Beyond that, I'm around.
What about you, Andy? You got a big show coming up this Thursday, don't you?
Yeah, you guys can find me here every Monday night with the greatest book review show on Monday nights. And this Thursday, why not? Let's talk about some Star Wars news, maybe a little speculation, because there's Star Wars news rampant. I mean, you got Mandalorian Season 2 about to hit in less than a month. There's just a lot of great stuff going on. There's a lot of great theories and topics floating around there, and it's going to be fun to dive into some of these. I'm really looking forward to it.
Flashpoint getting a lot of love so far, guys, with 13 votes in, 54% of the vote.
Kind of shocked by that, to be honest. Chad, where can people find you?
I sit on PlayStation Network and just wait for Carson to come play.
Thanks for missing that game today.
He never shows up.
I beat Avengers.
And no, you should find me on Friday nights, just hanging with my friends.
Yeah, definitely Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Always one of the best times to be had every single week. You can find me there, as well as CWoodard19 on Instagram, YouTube, and even Twitter sometimes. Put out a mystery box of Kevin Eastman books today, so I got the same mystery pack twice, literally. So if you want to see that, check that out. Probably
same books?
Yeah, the exact same books. I guess it wasn't so much of a mystery.
When we go off here, man,
that's weird, man.
You can pick some of these books if you want them.
I'll be all right. And then you'll
trade them
live.
Trade them in
7 p.m. Eastern. And eventually, we're going to get that Turtle show off the rails here. So we still got to figure out when we're going to be reading some Turtles at some point. And yeah, Jim and the Holograms. So until next time, guys, We'll see you next week.